A luxury Rolls-Royce Phantom tore through the downtown street of Chicago's Gold Coast, its tires skimming a puddle that had swelled from the morning rain. A wave of muddy water exploded onto a young girl in a faded janitor's uniform standing by the curb. Gasping, she stumbled back, clutching her cleaning supplies, drenched. Inside the car, a woman with diamonds flashing on her fingers laughed coldly, adjusting her sunglasses. But what she didn't see, what she should have, was the tall man stepping out of the building across the street, his eyes locked on the scene. His expression froze, and the coffee in his hand dropped to the sidewalk. Is that her? The mud-covered cleaner slowly looked up, her eyes burning with silent dignity. And just like that, the game began. Carly Donahue, the wealthy socialite and CEO's wife, loved attention. Designer heels, red carpet events, and daily spa treatments were her routine. She looked down on the help like furniture, useful, but invisible. Today she was heading to the grand opening of her husband's newest hotel, the Royal Summit, dressed in custom Dior, expecting cameras and admiration. Meanwhile, 19-year-old Kayla, a cleaner at the same hotel, had just finished her overnight shift. She was exhausted but excited. This was the first paycheck that might actually cover her younger brother's school fees. Her shift had ended. She was waiting for the bus home, standing respectfully away from the crowd. But Carly, annoyed by Kayla's mere presence near her car, had told the driver to swerve through the gutter puddle. A petty act, a cruel moment. But the man watching from across the street was not just any man. Inside the Royal Summit, Marcus Levine, the billionaire hotel tycoon, and Carly's husband, stood frozen at the glass doors. He had just witnessed his wife splash a cleaner with mud like she was throwing trash out the window. His mind rewound the memory in slow motion, not of Carly, but of Kayla. Something in her posture, her face, triggered a memory long buried. Kayla. That name. That face. It couldn't be. He stepped closer, watching as Kayla, instead of reacting in anger or causing a scene, bent down to gather her soaked belongings. She even helped an elderly woman pick up groceries that had fallen nearby from the shock. Grace, strength, resilience. She had no idea he was watching, but in that moment, Marcus saw more in her than he had in boardrooms full of suits. Back at the hotel, Kayla didn't report the incident. She didn't know who the woman in the car was. She just quietly changed her uniform and helped a guest with his room key. But word spread. One of the bellboys had caught the splash on his phone. A TikTok video titled "Rich Lady Drenches," "Cleaner in Mud, Watch the Girl's Reaction," began gaining traction. The girl's composure is incredible. That woman in the car, she's evil. Wait, isn't that Carly Donahue? And before the day was over, it reached Marcus's desk. The splash, the girl, his wife. But what no one knew, not even Kayla herself, was the secret Marcus had kept for years, and how it all tied back to her. Marcus Levine sat in his penthouse office, the TikTok video on loop. Every frame of Kayla's face chipped away at his composure. He zoomed in, studying the shape of her eyes, the quiet confidence in her expression. And the necklace. That necklace. A tiny silver locket shaped like a sunflower. He had given it to someone years ago, a young woman named Melanie. She had been the love of his life before he married Carly. Back then, Marcus was just a regional manager trying to build something meaningful. Melanie was a waitress at a diner near his first hotel. They were in love. She had dreams, he had ambition. But then, tragedy, a miscommunication, her sudden disappearance. And now, decades later, a girl shows up wearing Melanie's exact necklace. Her face, her eyes, a mirror of the woman he once loved. Could she be my daughter? While Marcus was deep in thought, Carly was basking in her spotlight. That is, until her phone buzzed nonstop. You're trending for all the wrong reasons. Classist much? Shame on you, Carly Donahue. Her publicist called in a panic. The videos hit 4 million views in 6 hours. People are calling for you to be banned from all hotels in the city. Carly snapped. It was just a cleaner. Why are people so sensitive these days? But her voice trembled. She wasn't used to consequences. Then came the real blow. Marcus refused to speak to her. When she tried to enter his office, the door was locked. His assistant handed her a message. Do not speak to me until further notice. You've done enough damage. That's when Carly began to panic. She thought Marcus would laugh it off like always, but she didn't realize what Kayla meant to him. The next morning, Kayla was scrubbing the lobby floor when a guest approached. It wasn't just any guest, it was Marcus himself. She stood up quickly, flustered. I, I'm sorry, sir, I didn't mean to. Marcus raised a hand gently. Kayla, is it? She nodded. He took a long breath. Do you know who your father is? Her eyes widened. No, sir. My mom passed when I was 15. She never told me. Said he wasn't ready. Marcus's heart thudded. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an old photo. Him and Melanie, laughing under a streetlight. Kayla gasped, trembling as she took it. That's my mom. Tears welled in Marcus's eyes. Then that means you're my daughter. The mop in her hand clattered to the ground. She wasn't just a cleaner. She was the heir to a billion-dollar hotel empire. And Carly? She had just splashed mud on the boss's daughter. Later that day, a private meeting was called in the executive lounge. Marcus, Carly, Kayla, and a few executives were present. Carly entered with her head high, still trying to act like the queen. I assume this is about the video. It's just a misunderstanding. Marcus cut her off. No, Carly. This is about respect, about how you treat people. He stood and turned to Kayla. This young woman you humiliated? She's my daughter. And from this day forward, she'll be working directly with me, as my assistant in training to take over operations. Carly's face went pale. What? Marcus, you can't be serious. She's a janitor. No, Carly, he replied coldly. She's family, and she has more heart than you've ever shown. Carly was escorted out. Kayla sat frozen, her world flipped upside down in 24 hours. But Marcus smiled. You've always deserved better, and now you'll get it. Kayla stood in the executive elevator, headed to the 48th floor, her first day as Marcus Levine's assistant. She wasn't wearing a janitor's uniform anymore. Now she wore a modest blouse and slacks with a company badge labeled Executive Training. But in her mind, questions swirled like a storm. What if people think I don't belong here? What if they laugh behind my back? What if I disappoint him? She clutched her mom's locket and whispered, You told me to be strong. I'm trying, Mom. When the elevator doors opened, she was greeted with polite nods and some stunned silence. Word had spread. The cleaner girl wasn't just Marcus's long-lost daughter. She was the new power player in the building. Meanwhile, Carly Donahue was unraveling. Banished from the hotel board, publicly humiliated, and trending online for all the wrong reasons, she decided to strike back. She called a gossip blog and leaked false claims about Kayla, that she had faked the DNA test, manipulated Marcus, and forged the necklace story. The post went viral, and for a brief moment, it worked. Online commenters turned against Kayla. Another gold digger playing the sympathy card? Smells like a scam to me. Where's the proof? Kayla was crushed. Maybe I don't belong here, she said quietly to Marcus. But Marcus smiled softly. Kayla, the internet is loud. But the truth is louder when you stand tall. He walked her into a press conference he had already scheduled. Dozens of reporters filled the room. Marcus stepped forward. I'd like to introduce someone very important. Years ago, I lost someone I loved. What I didn't know is she left behind someone even more precious, our daughter. He gestured to Kayla. She walked to the mic, hands trembling. She took a deep breath and said, I never wanted fame. I never asked for riches. I just want a job to help my little brother get to school. But you can only stay small for so long when the world demands you rise. I'm rising. For me, for my mom, and for every cleaner out there who's ever been looked down on. The room went silent, then erupted in applause. Days later, Marcus shared the full story of Carly's blog attack. The media turned on her instantly. Luxury brands cut ties. Her social media accounts were flooded with backlash. And Marcus? He filed for divorce, citing moral misconduct and class-based cruelty. Carly was left with a fraction of her lifestyle. Meanwhile, Kayla, now trained by top executives, began climbing fast. Not just because of her name, but because of her heart, grit, and wisdom. She turned the hotel's community outreach program into a citywide project, opening career paths for cleaners, security guards, kitchen staff, all the invisible people. And one day at a grand gala held in the very hotel where she once mopped floors, Marcus stood beside her and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my daughter, Kayla Levine, your new vice president of operations." Cheers, tears, cameras flashing. She smiled and whispered to herself, "From the mud, I bloomed."